Globalization, a widely discussed topic, has certainly been a blessing for the modern world. Globalization advances in technologies such as mobile phones, airplanes, telephones, and the internet have made the growth of transport and communication networks possible. Amongst other things, this means that people and countries can exchange information and goods more quickly and in a less complicated way. It is very beneficial to us, especially in today's era. As a result, it makes it easier for us to communicate with our loved ones no matter where they are in the world. Globalization has indeed played a large part in the development of the state of life we have today. In simple words, globalization means the spreading of business, culture, or any technology on an international level. When the boundaries of countries and continents matter no more, the whole world becomes a global village in itself. Globalization is an effort to reduce geographical and political barriers for the smooth functioning of any business.
Main objective of globalization. The four main aspects of globalization are capital and investment movement, trade and transactions, education, and spread of knowledge along with migration and unrestricted movement of people. In simpler terms, globalization visualizes that one can purchase and sell goods from any part of the world, communicate and interact with anyone, anywhere in the world, and also enables cultural exchange among the global population.
Globalization made it easier for people, goods, ideas, or businesses to move across the borders. The first positive effect of globalization is market expansion. Globalization creates new opportunities and ideas, but more of opening new markets in the base of economics. It creates great opportunities for firms in less industrialized countries to tap into the more and larger markets around the world. Globalization made it possible for countries and companies to have an access to bigger consumer base. Instead of selling their products only in their country, they can extend it internationally through boosting their sales. This leads to more access of capital flows, technology, human capital, and cheaper imports and larger exports. Therefore, globalization allowed business in less industrialized countries to become part of the international production networks and supply chains that are main conditions of trade.
Second positive effect of globalization is a cheaper prices of goods. The increase of production means cost reductions. Therefore, increase of trade deals means more imports leads to increase of consumer choice that results to the reduction of prices for companies. The economy grows as lower prices stimulate the increase of demand. This means that the larger the business, the lower its per unit costs. In short, economic globalization allowed companies to reduce their overheads by shifting their production operation from high-cost to low-cost countries.
The next positive effect of globalization is that it creates employment. Economic liberation has made it easier for companies to relocate, allowing them to rapidly scale up jobs or new employment. It did include the flow of goods, capital, and production across international level. Although on a macro level, some specific industry jobs in some economies have decreased in volume. But on a macro level, the number of jobs available across the globe is at a high record. Globalization has enhanced firms' abilities to reallocate the production processes without abstraction or barrier. This allows firms to rapidly scale up and reduce overhead costs by outsourcing processes to nations with cheaper labor costs. This free flow or labor increases the total number of global jobs.
Globalization improves domestic productivity through expanding knowledge, allowing foreign imports, increases competition, enhances the spread of knowledge across international borders. This foreign knowledge has allowed economies to adopt foreign industry, best practices, and increase productivity. The increased transfer of foreign expertise and knowledge led to an increase in domestic productivity. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, estimates that globalization has been directly responsible for an increase of 0.7% annually emerging market economies. In addition to exposure to foreign knowledge and expertise, the introduction of foreign competition in domestic market has also served to improve productivity.
Another one example of positive effects of globalization. Globalization reduces cultural diversity. Because of globalization, there is cultural homogenization. For those proponents of globalization, they consider the highlight of cultural homogenization as positive outlook because it reduces cultural diversity between and among countries as people continue to accept other people's culture and to their own culture. It also emphasizes the enhancement and promotions of one's cultural identity that increases and builds a stronger understanding and better relationship with other countries.
Lastly, globalization promotes world peace and unity. A state that is more dependent on another is not likely to engage in actions that could lead to conflict with that state. In those nations, the business elites tend to lose the most from trade disruptions will also lobby their government to avoid conflict or military aggression against a trading partner. For instance, due to globalization, there is an increase of world trade agreements and political cooperation, with the positive effect of this is that it strengthens the ties between trading partners and promote peace, security, and growth. Also, it is unlikely that a country trading a lot of products and services with another will attack it or want to go to war with it. In addition to that, recent study examined interstate military conflict between 290,000 and 40 country pairs between 1950 and 2000. It concluded that the higher the interdependence and bilateral trade between the country partners, the lower the chance of military conflict is. Therefore, as globalization continues to arise, the stronger the world will become unified.
But not everyone agrees with the positive effects of globalization. Negative effects have been observed in different countries. Not everything about globalization is beneficial. Any change has winners and losers. Globalization has arrived with unpleasant side effects, and we also have to consider some of the drawbacks, some of the risks and disadvantages of this process of globalization.
Now let's also discuss about the negative effects of globalization. First, we have damage to natural resources. One of the major impacts of globalization is its underlying damage to the environment. The massive development of transportation for trade and importation of goods and other resources has been a driving force, and the major consequences of globalization, especially on the pace of economic growth, which also became responsible for serious environmental problems such as greenhouse gas emissions, global warming, or air pollution because of economic growth and industrial productivity, both contributed to the depletion of natural resources, deforestation, and the destruction of ecosystems and loss of biodiversity.
Second negative effect of globalization is global competition. Global competition emphasizes the competition between multinational and local companies in terms of economic growth that lead to certain advantage and disadvantage to both parties. We all know that multinational corporation is also one of the essential things that fuels globalization, which really strain the world into a smaller one. The increases of multinational corporations into various countries is a struggle for local companies because they need to compete with them in terms of products and price in order to stay in the business. Multinational companies are expected to advance in terms of products because they offer bring better and more advanced product into local market and resident company. Mass enough equivalent company technologies and product that is much with them. Since multinational companies have more resources at their disposal, they can explore new market and other strategy way for selling their product in the host country. These markets are usually inoperative for local business. Multinational companies also create more product and receive more revenue because they are expected to excel in terms of labor force. This is because multinational companies offer better wage for highly skilled workers for more better and increases production. This can be advantage for resident companies because they have too much better wage scale to prevent employee turnover into their own operation. On the other hand, global competition also result to price fluctuation because of financial instability. Since multinational frequency sell better product which are offered cheaper than those local business, local companies need to lower the price of their product in order to compete with the price for the same product coming from multinational corporation. For local companies, reducing price will have a consequence on their profit, which may possibly lead to action like laying off worker for may force some local companies close.
Next is job insecurity. Since we already have mentioned a while about laying off workers, loss of job security is also one of the negative effects of globalization. Although in positive impact we mentioned that globalization creates jobs, there are also ways on how globalization creates a job insecurity in other countries. This only proves that globalization might not somehow applicable for other aspects. International supply chain is the network that turns the raw materials into finished items, produce and distributes goods for more quickly and cheaply than ever. But the pace of technological innovation, which is a cause of globalization, has led to the automation of manufacturing processes, which eliminated some handmade production jobs, for instance.
Lastly, we have loss of global identity. Because of the continuous development of communication technologies, it had provided a variety of ways of bringing people and cultures closer together. On the aspect of cultural globalization, since information are now becoming more available and free access worldwide. For instance, if not because of communication technologies with the presence of internet, K-pop or other foreign musics or entertainment would not be visible to access. Communication technologies had helped people to spread and promote other cultures. And because of communication technologies, we are able to know the certain cultures that may catch our interest with are uploaded in the worldwide internet. For more specific example, some people when they are not yet a fan of foreign entertainments, they like Filipino culture that match. However, with the help of communication technologies, Western cultures, foreign movies, and foreign artists were introduced all over the internet, which became trend worldwide. This resulted to the change of their choices in terms of fashion, music, entertainment, as well as views and preferences because they are influenced and got interested with Western culture. In relation to the loss of global identity, if people continue to patronize, emulate, or incorporate the foreign element into their image of themselves, It may lead to the deterioration of our own culture and identity, which is evidently happening right now in the Philippines.
And that would be all for this presentation, the impacts of globalization and its importance. Globalization exists and may affect people positively or negatively. But one thing for sure is the world we are living right now needs survival.